Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another installment of Math Basics, Mr. Besh. Today's target is how to read circle graphs. Now, I have two of them that are here. I have one on the left and one on the right, and they are noticeably different. And now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how you read them today so that you can answer any type of question associated. Because what happens is what you can, the questions that can be asked about these are numerous and vast, and you want to be able to read the graph prior to going through and reading any of the questions. Okay, so let's take a look first at the one that has the slices broken down into percents on my right hand side. First thing that I want to change a little bit is in the problem when you read this, they give you an awful big number here. We're going to change quadrillion basically into units. All right. And the reason why we did that is this graph here, this circle graph now is going to be broken up into 98 individual units, 98 pieces. Okay. So now when you have a circle graph that has percents, before you even go about and read the questions of what are being asked of you, you should be going to each one of these and taking the percents and making them into decimals. And you make a percent into a decimal simply by dividing it by 100. So you want to go around here and do this for each of your values. So then 21 divided by 100 gives me 0.21 for coal. That's my value for coal. And if I did it for renewable energy here, it would be 0.08. So that's my renewable energy. And if I did it for the nuclear electric power, that's going to be 0.09, and so on and so on. I would do it for the natural gas and the petroleum. By the way, fancy word for just simply oil. Okay. And now, once I have these decimals, let me explain to you how you use these decimals. When you make a percent into a decimal, it now takes on a new name, and that new name is called a multiplier. Hence, you're going to multiply, all right? You're going to be using this, and you're going to be using this with the other number involved in the problem that is so important, and that is the grand total. So again, my entire circle graph was broken down into 98 pieces, 98 parts, 98 units. So if coal represents 21% of that, all I have to do is take my calculator out, and if I want to know how many of those pieces or how many of those parts are broken down from coal, and coal's 21%, I just take 98 multiplied by 0.21, the percent is a decimal, and when I take 98 times 0.21, I get 20.58. Now, yes, there's decimals, but what this is basically telling me here is 21% of the coal out of 98 parts is represented as 20.58. So 20.58 parts are specifically from coal. And you could do the same thing for renewable energy. You take 98 multiplied by 0.08, and now you have how many parts of the whole are from renewable energy. So this is what you do, and this is how you use a circle graph that has the slices broken down into percents. Okay? So the other thing that you can have, if you look over to the right we have a circle graph, and there are no percents. So that's what we're going to do. We want to figure out what these percent breakdowns are. In these slices, they actually tell you what the values are of what we just calculated. So what we just did in the last graph, what we just found, how many parts were, does the 21% represent from coal? They're already giving them to you on the graph on the right. And your job is you're going to be taking this and determining your percents. So all you got to do is just take a sliver of of the pie here. Take one of these slices. Let's look at food. I love food. All right, 576. If I want to find out what percent of my graph is based on food, this is all I have to do. Start out with the number that's associated with food, 576, and then what you're going to do next is you need a grand total. You either have to add up every single number in each slice, or B, some of these questions are nice enough that they give you the total right here, which comes out to be 2,400. And all you do is you take the food number divided by your grand total. And when you do this, you get your decimal. So 576 divided by 2,400 comes out to be 0.24. Now that's the decimal, that's the multiplier. What I want to know is the percent. So to make that into a percent, all you have to do is multiply by 100, and that's going to give us 24%. So that means of my budget, of my $2,400 budget, if I spend $576 on food, that represents 24%. And you can do this for each of the slices around there on that circle graph for each and every one of these questions. Now notice, I haven't answered anything yet. All we're doing right now is knowing how to read the graph and what we have to do from the graph. So if your circle graph gives you percents, you're going to be finding actual data or actual values. You want to find out what the percents break down to be. And if you get a circle graph like on the right that doesn't have any of the percents, the moral of the story is they're going to ask you questions on finding those percents. So that's that. And like I said, now once you know all of this, then there can be a number of questions that now you can answer. There is no limit to what you can do. All right. So I hope you found this both helpful and informative.